different birds and imports versus, you know, the birds we have here. And these are out of the import birds, so, you know, they seem to be fairly nice. I don't keep any of the, I guess, the rare tragopans. I like the Timnids. That's my favorite tragopan.
Yeah, I mean, I always like that they're nice birds.
Yeah.
I like the satyrs are nice too.
Yeah, the satyr, yeah.
But you don't find too many of them anymore. I mean, that's a big.
I don't know. We get hot in the summertime. It's very humid, and my understanding is that satyr is a cool weather bird. That it doesn't like heat like we have here.
So,
I don't know that, but that's what I've been told.
I mean, I haven't had any experience with them out here. I know that all tragopans love cold.
Right.
Do you have any problems with West Nile with them?
I have not. Now, in the summertime, I'll bring out mosquito traps, electronic mosquito, the Dynatrap, and I run a wire between here and, well, I had the wire sitting out there, but we run the Dynatraps. I run one here and one down there, and I use the half-acre size, and it sucks up mosquitoes. But I haven't had an issue with that here yet. I always like putting the yellow.
Stromberg used to have a little fan with the light on it.
Well,
push them down into a bag, and you can feed your birds the mosquitoes and whatever else got in there.
Yeah, so that way they get it direct, right? You don't have to wait for.
Or if you had ducks, you just blow it right on the water.
Yeah.
And then they come over and they eat it at night.
Yeah,
but you can't find them now. They got like a weed whacker in them now.
Oh,
the
yeah.
new ones, they have weed whackers.
Yeah, this has got like a fan that runs. It's got a scent fit thing that you put into them, and it's got a light and a fan. And, you know, they make a little humming noise. I worried at first when I put it out here, is that going to bother my birds? But they seem to be okay. But as you notice, we run at least 2 pair of everything that we have, or 2 trios.
Where did you get that? I've never seen wire like that.
That's called Critter. I get it from Critter Fence. It's made in Chester, South Carolina. Remember a couple years ago when I was talking to you about the electric fence and stuff?
Yeah.
What we found was happening with the knotted netting is the squirrels would sit up here on any of the cross pieces or the hard structure, and they would eat acorns, and apparently they got they developed an affinity for nylon netting. So they would chew right where the intersection of 2 squares came together, and you'd have an opening there, and I tensioned my netting probably way more than it should have. So as soon as it pops, there's a hole. Yeah. And we had predators that exploited that weakness in my pen structure. So I tried the electric fencing on the top. I tried running wire back and forth with CDs. I finally got tired of it, tore all the netting off of these pens, off of all my pens. And I've gone to the 1x1 PVC coated wire. And I was concerned that it wasn't going to be very strong, but I can tell you it will bounce a 6-inch limb off of it. It bounced. I had a limb come off of that tree 2 years ago, and it punched a hole through the metal in the back. The diameter of my waist, 30 inches, and it bounced off the wire. So what I have learned is that I have to use staples every 4 inches. And as you can see, I try to walk it in a little bit and not come right to the edge. That way I don't zipper the wire. You know what I mean when I say zipper the wire?
Yeah, because it'll just keep on.
Right, so I don't zipper the wire. I step in 2 or 3 squares.
So I see you got these little fencing staples in here.
Yep.
Do you have a pneumatic stapler?
Yeah, and this is the problem with pneumatic staples. As soon as that the wood shrinks, they're done.
For these?
No, the pneumatic.
Which one's the pneumatic?
These are the 18 gauge.
No, I'm talking about these little.
Yeah,
10 gauge.
I ordered a 16 gauge fence stapler. Yeah.
I got a 10 gauge at home.
Yeah.
And it'll slam these things in.
Oh yeah.
Just like that.
Right.
Yeah. And it costs a little bit to get it going, but it's like $400. But I can staple this whole thing up, and you don't have to worry about these staples coming out.
Right. I ordered one of the fence staples.
And the nice thing about them too is like you're dealing with pressure treated. A lot of times when you're hand nailing them, you'll split the wood.
Right.
And these pneumatics doesn't do that. It just drives right through, and it's really good.
Right. We try to on the new pen, the 8 new pens that are going down here. we're going to use this 1x1 on all of it. I'm not going to do the 1x2. I'm just going to do the 1x1 on everything. And my reasoning behind that is, yeah, you'll get birds that fly into the wire from time to time, but they're flying into the roof just as hard, and predators are trying to come through the roof just as hard. So if it's holding them out of the roof, it'll hold on the face as well.
Yep. So speaking of the roof,
yeah,
a lot of people with pheasants and stuff like that have problems from time to time with owls. Killing birds to the top. You have that problem here?
You notice how all my perches are at least
Lower.
2 feet down.
Yep.
That's why. I have
the
2
reason.
families of owls on this property, and they'll perch on top of these pins at night. Yes, I learned to put all my roost so when a bird's on it, even a raccoon can't reach down to touch the bird. And I've got to change some of these perches, but I've got where I don't even put perches up to the wire anymore. These are older, so they have it, but I'll change that too. These are my swin hoe. They're, as you could probably tell, I like the dark birds with the kind of blue iridescence on them. I don't know.
So what? I wonder why it is that the males hop like rabbits, and you don't see that in other pheasants as much.
I might.
Does he hop like a rabbit?
Yeah, all the time. But I know why this one hops, because I have been too lazy to get in there and replace the perch and ride it away.
That's obviously a behavior, though,
Right.
where they hop around like a rabbit. But
I found that I shouldn't use crepe myrtle trunks because they just rot away after a year. But our city cuts them down, does crepe myrtle every year.
Crepe myrtle everywhere.
Yeah, they do crepe myrtle, and I just go behind them and load it all up in my trailer. And I was using it for perches, but it rots so quickly, and they're so destructive on it. But those are the swin hoe. And
so these blue ears, do they lay in that?
No.
Or they bury their eggs?
They bury it. I take about every 3 or 4 years, I moved all my pheasants to different pens. So if I have baskets in the pens, I usually don't take them down. I just leave until they fall down. And as you see how that one's laying down, they like hopping up on the rim of it, and they're a little bit heavy, so they've knocked it down. But I like them. They're quieter compared to some of the birds we're getting ready to see. This is a pair of, this pair of Elliots is from Ron. I got them from him last year, and the male, when they came to the ground pen out of quarantine, I was in there feeding. I used the Pecamatic feeders. I was in there feeding, and the male jumped off that perch and hit the female in the back of the head, and she was out.
Knocked out or out for
I
good?
thought she was done. I picked her up, and there wasn't any muscle tension in that bird. She was just limp. Took her into the brooder house, put her in a brooder with some heat. That night she had an eye open and kind of looking at me. She didn't move much, and it took her about 2 weeks to recover. Of course, she didn't lay that season, and so I figured she was done from now on as far as being a breeder, but she has made a liar out of me so far. Yeah, I've got to go in, and that's to remind me I've got to go in and do the Pecamatic, fill it, feed.
Now, you find some of the pheasants, like digging pheasants, especially like kind of like the tracker pens or something, they make a mess out of those things.
Yes, they do. They can empty one in about a day.
Empty as they'll sit there and just pull that thing back.
Some of them will empty that. I can fill that 5-gallon bucket up, and some of them will empty it. So those I've kind of gone to the old style feeder I used, which was the cutout bucket.
Yep.
So that's what you'll see here with the cheer.
So when your cheers usually start rolling?
They'll start probably the end of April here. You talking about what year? I'm sorry.
No. I was talking about what time of year.
Yeah, about the end of April is when mine start. Now I've had other people say theirs start at the beginning of April, but the cheer are some of the ones that they don't do real well with the Pecamatic. They'll empty it real quick.
Right.
So I've got another pair down there that I need to change their feeder out.
So one of the things I didn't, you hand raise all these chicks?
Incubate.
Hand rear.
Some of them I let the parents raise.
So, what do you think yields a better chick, the parent reared chick?
Parent, by far.
And do you have problems with cannibalism with?
Yes.
With what species in particular?
These and the reeves.
Reeves.
Yeah. If you leave more than I think a half a reeve together, you're gonna have half a reeve. They just, I don't know, they're bloodthirsty.
Have you tried different lighting on them and stuff like that?
Doesn't seem. I've taken even and when we go to the brooder room, I've taken the brooders and rounded the corners in them, so there were no corners for a bird to get trapped in. I've tried multiple feeders.
Different kind of lights?
I've changed the light from like LED to red lights. I've changed from red lights to the little blue lights.
Different feeds?
No, well, yes, because I used to feed Purina feed, and I don't use their starter anymore. I use a different starter. So I've had 3 different formulations that I've used for starter. It didn't seem to be much of a difference. Because I thought it was kind of the same thing. There was something lacking in the food. That's why they were going after each other. I think they're just
inbred.
I just think it's the bird, that species. And it's like everybody says, "Oh, my reeves has been friendly." It's like, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mine's always friendly. I said, okay. Call me in 3 years and tell me how it's doing.
Yeah. Sometimes individual birds act differently.
I've never had a reeve that didn't think it could kill me.
I don't think I've ever seen one that didn't think that. Those fireback pheasants.
You get ready, yeah. So there's another pair of Elliott in here. The Elliots, these are young, but the Elliots, for whatever reason, they seem to be shy, retiring birds.
Yeah.
They're unlike the cheer, which want to be the center of attention every time you go around them.
I got you had a cheer down, a pair of cheer down. I thought they gave him
He's getting ready to be real loud, so he's going to blow you out. He's building up. He's like an opposite. There he goes. Yeah, oh, he's not there. He'll get so loud you'll have to put your fingers in your ears. This, see my flags. This is going to be one of my new pens here.
Curacao.
Yes, that'll be the Curacao pen. And then we're getting ready to move this pen. I was going to move it. I was hoping before the Amherst got going, but they're going now, so we won't move it. But I've got to drop this tree right here. Is the last one's got to come down. Yeah, it's dead. So we've got to skid this whole pen forward and drop the tree. And when we do, there'll be 2 more pins that'll come in between, because this pin will go down another 4 feet. These guys I was worried about. He has always eaten out of my hand, been like super friendly. And all of a sudden this year, he threw a switch, and he's pretty sure he can take me even on a bad day.
Was he producing?
No, he's a 3rd-year bird now.
So he's sexually mature now.
The testosterone dropped, and he knows he can take me on. And I think he probably could. But I told somebody, I said, I think I've ruined my Siamese firebacks. I said, why? I said, the male comes right up, he'll eat out of my hand, he follows me around, he'd jump up on my shoulder. He said, how old are you? I said, he's 2. He said, oh yeah, call me next year. They were right. It hadn't mattered.
Don't they typically, the hens will produce it too?
She produced last year, but he wasn't fertile.
Yeah, they're pure, right?
Yeah. As I was saying, you can tell I like those.
So they all pretty much, the hens will lay like 2 years old.
Right, the male's a 3rd. Right.
But they don't usually lay that good it's like a couple eggs.
She laid 32 eggs last year.
Really? She laid that many?
And she sat.
Wow.
Because I didn't go in and collect because I knew they weren't going to be any good, and I figured, well, she'll lay, 2 or 3 eggs.
At the end of the season, they might have been good.
No, they weren't.
How do you know?
I bust them open. There's no bullseye on them. Yeah, when I went in and cleaned out, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, go ahead. I'm surprised he didn't spur you, because that's, yeah. He's something.
I want to touch the velvet.
Yeah, I just think that's so beautiful. Yeah, there he goes. And this is a tree, one of my trios of Amherst. He's an old bird, and that bird, he'll keep a hen for about 2 years. In the 3rd year, he don't want anything to do with that hen anymore, and he'll kill it. This will be the flags here, the pin panels that are going up there. This will be another battery row of 5 pins right here.
I was going to say, with the color was mowing.
When I first started keeping pheasants, I kept everything in kind of square pins. And people that were mentoring me said, you might want to make them longer because, you know, pheasants like to walk sidelines. And
yeah, I think like a lot of people are going like 4 foot by like 20 feet long.
Right, I'm
like
doing
that.
6 or 7. Those up there are 7.5 wide by the 19 feet, 18 feet. These are all 6, just because, pardon me, these ultimately are just going to be for young birds to go in until they're going to new zip codes. Sorry, but for right now, the birds that came out of those pens are in all these. I'm sorry it's so wet down here. We had hard rain for the last 3 days. White-crested College. And here, these are 2nd-year birds, so I'm hoping they'll produce. The one they're out of has always been fertile at 2 years. So.
I wish there was some black-crested collies around. I don't think there's any of them around.
I had Nepal College. I couldn't find any good ones. More Siamese fireback.
So that's the only fireback to keep, huh?
That's the only one I keep. I had Borneans for a little while. I realized that they would probably kill me one day. So
they're bigger birds. Too.
Yeah, they're bigger birds, and they had an attitude like. So it's like they went to somebody else, and I like the Siamese. They're pugnacious, but they're not so big I got to worry about going across the street to the hospital. You know, the Borneans, on the other hand, were like a blue ear hitting you, you know, so.
Do your blue ears protect you?
No, they're,
I was gonna say,
they don't care.
I never had them.
The biggest thing I have an issue with the blue ear, and I thought it might have been diet more than anything, but going into breeding season, the tail feathers just look hard, and I started realizing.
I think that's just from them strutting.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I think it's from that display thing they do where they rock back.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out how to get around. I had this whole pen with like 8 inches of hay in it. You see what it looks like now.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
turn everything.
They turn it right. I told my wife we could rent them out for garden tillers.
Yeah, those Olympian pheasants are the best garden tillers you'd have.
I think I told you up in Pennsylvania, the Impians are my bucket list bird, but with all this bottom weighing of mosquitoes, there's no reason to even try it.
I think I would try it.
And just vaccinate them?
Vaccinate them, yeah. I really would. I would try it.
They are my...
But you know, it's funny because I tell people, in fact, I would recommend you vaccinate your tragopans too.
Yeah.
And I'm a big pusher of the vaccination.
Yeah, just the little vial, the horse vial.
It's horse vial,
right.
But I am convinced it works because we don't have problems with red-breasted geese. We don't have problems with shell geese. Shell geese are absolutely horrible. If you have mosquitoes around, you will get West Nile virus. Same thing, we actually weren't using vaccinations for Impian pheasants and tragopans, and we did well with both of those species, but it was always playing the catch-up game.
Yeah.
Which if you breed good birds good enough, you can always play catch-up games.
Yeah, that's you're behind the saddle.
Yeah, so you just vaccinate it. I mean, it's expensive, and that might be part of the reason people don't want to do it.
Yeah.
$25 a vaccine or something like that.
Yeah, but those birds, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you lose a.
The other thing here for me, though, for the Impians is those are definitely an upper altitude bird. I mean, it can be 100, 101 degrees here in the summer. And that's one reason why, we talked about years ago why I just wouldn't drop all the trees. My birds would roast here, I think. So I like having the shade.
What is it that would, really, how different are these species of pheasants, whether you're talking about
pretty much everything here is under 3,600 feet in altitude.
But I mean, physiologically, I don't think there's a lot of differences, and I guess that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. In other words, we can, we even with the ducks. Well, I mean, pheasants are a great example too.
Yeah.
You can't keep
Firebacks,
in the north without heat.
Right, because that's a tropical bird.
Toes or whatever.
Right.
But if you just give them, if you give them a little bit of heat, they're fine.
Yeah.
But physiologically, they're not that much different than a silver.
Right. I said that's always been the bird. Everybody around here, like Steve, a couple other aviculturists in the club, there was a push several years ago, and they all jumped on Impians, and they bought like a lot, like 6-8 pairs of them. Neither one of them have Impians anymore.
I really think it's the West Nile virus. I really think that's the biggest killer on them. But then the other thing is with like the Impian pheasants and probably the tragopans as well. And I don't know because I'm not a pheasant expert. You'd have to talk to some of these guys that are actually really into that aspect. But I would also say like down here, this is actually, believe it or not, I'm sure you're aware of it. It's a different climate even than North Carolina.
Yeah.
With that said, you could have parasites in the soil that are more active than you would up in New York or even North Carolina. So that would be another thing that you'd have to look into.
Right. We do
like this. This is like a clay mix. A lot of organic stuff.
Right.
In
It's
here.
got a lot of humus in it.
So this might not be something that you want to. You might want to really build
put them up
sand on. For them.
We're getting ready to get some truckloads of what they call gravel sand. We got a rock quarry right over the river. So I'm getting ready to fill all of these.
Good drainage in them.
Right.
And, then the other thing is like some of the old timer pheasant keepers used to take lime and flowers of sulfur and rake it in the ground.
We lime every pen twice a year.
And then flowers of sulfur for parasite, the worms.
To drive the earthworms away.
Yep. So we actually, and it's an interesting thing because we had a bird a few months back that we sent for necropsy, and it had it wasn't the cause of death of the bird, but they found a species of it's related to gapeworm, but it wasn't gapeworm.
Caecilia.
I don't remember what the name. It was like a gapeworm, but it wasn't a gapeworm. They found eggs in the throat of the bird, which is something that actually the veterinarian had never seen in North Carolina either. But we never see anything like that up in New York where we are. You can get some. I know a couple.
You got a
breeders.
frost line there. Probably helps.
Yeah, I know a couple of breeders that actually get gapeworm in the wintertime up in New York because they have heated water dishes.
Oh.
And the birds come out around the water dishes, and they, the birds eat the worms. And
those are my grays. As you can see, he could care less about life. I mean, he's good. He just nothing bothers him. He's just as laid back. And...
So your hen's laying up?
Yeah, I got.
They are because
I got a bunch. And the weird thing with them is they'll go through these cycles. They'll lay gangbusters, and then they're done.
He's a small cock.
Yeah, he's not a real big one. But they'll lay, and then they quit, and then they'll lay. I mean, I've had them laying in December before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. They'll lay year round almost. And I know a lot of people I said, I don't do anything for them. They sit on the ground and they eat and they go to the bathroom and produce eggs. So, that's pretty much all I do.
These are really small. My cocks are.
Yeah, yours are big. Yeah. I've wanted to get
He's
this.
got a real dark gold
mantle.
Yep.
Yep. I want to get, I've seen a line that had almost a silver mantle.
Yeah, I think there's some mutations too.
Oh,
There's
is that
silver on the back.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
too.
I want to get a different line to these. Now these are the hens out of one group of
they're all pretty close related.
Right. But I tried to get hens from one state and I got male from another state.
Because I mean, probably, I'm guessing that you probably got these from some of the people I sold birds to.
May have, yeah. But yeah, so I want to get a different, blood, I guess, because I mean these guys are pushing probably 5 years now. So yeah, but the thing is I'm just one bird away from being out of jungle fowl.
Yep.
I mean, really.
Yep.
And as you notice, there's usually at least 2 or 3 of everything here, except for these.
So, but that's the thing with us is some stuff we got 5 pairs of.
Yeah.
And we're like, and maybe we're not one bird out, but we're one day out of being out of business because you never. Right. And that's happened to us before.
Yeah.
Where we've had, I remember a few years back we had 4 or 5 pairs of New Zealand scaup. We ended up losing all the males within 4 or 5 months, and we had no males going into breeding season.
Yeah. So I always feel better when I have at least 2 breeding pens of a species. And I prefer, as you notice, 3. I don't know. I like the number 3. I guess.